All right, we are live on Las Vegas Tri Club Facebook page, and I am recording. I'm John Mercer, president of Las Vegas Triathlon Club, and tonight we're doing a member spotlight with Stephanie Lueras. Oh, did I say that right?
You did. Perfect.
Excellent. Okay, that's great. Well, it's great to have you on this member spotlight, Stephanie, because you've always been such a genuine person, and we were just talking before, and you used the phrase you're an open book, and you are, and you've always been very friendly with everyone, and very open to sharing how you got involved with triathlon. I'm really interested in hearing more about that tonight. So thanks for joining us tonight, or joining me tonight, because we are missing Bob Gamble tonight. But so it's just you and I.
Well, I'm excited to be here. We'll still have some fun even without Bob.
Yes, that's right. Well, let's start with, you told me you became a member in 2018 of the Tri Club. So that's great. How'd you get involved in triathlon?
Well, I got involved in triathlon actually on kind of a dare, if you will.
Yeah.
Through my fitness journey, as it was, I found that I really loved running and was just looking for races and different races locally. I live in Lake Havasu City, and we just don't have a lot of long distance local races. And so I had found a 70.3 that you could relay. And so I went around twisting arms to find a swimmer and a cyclist. And through that process, one of my best friends in the world that was the cyclist, through that process, kind of looked at me jokingly and said, when are you going to suck it up, buy the bike and do this on your own?
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of game on, took the challenge, and the rest was history from there.
All right. Well, tell me what was the relay, which race was it that you did as a relay?
So that's when Havasu Triathlon, the year that Tough Man partnered with the Havasu Triathlon.
Okay.
So I want to say it was 2017.
Okay. All right. That sounds about right. Okay. So now you've been dared, you've been pushed by your friend, and this is what friends do, right? I mean, but you always want to surround yourself with people like that. So that's awesome.
Absolutely.
So what race did you pick to do your first as a triathlon?
My first, I actually think my first was, well, let me look at some of the medals here. What was my first? My first was Rage.
Rage.
The sprint at Rage.
Yeah, that's a great first race.
Yes.
And so that was 2018 now?
Yeah, that would have been, 2018 was the sprint at Rage. Yep. Then that summer I took it on the road. I did the Olympic out at Rev 3 in Williamsburg.
Oh, wow.
And have done a bunch.
Pennsylvania.
Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I've done a bunch more varying distances with the group that does Rage up in Vegas. And now I've bumped up distance into the Ironman group. So
yeah, I know. I want to get to that, but before we get to that, I want to hear more about your first race. So you did this relay, and you were comfortable with the run.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about getting the swim and the bike. Get to a point where you say, okay, I'm ready to do all three.
Okay. Well, I've always been a water baby. I from a very, very early age was a swimmer. I've got pictures in our family photo album of 2 and 3 years old running off the high dive. Am I a super fast swimmer? No, but I can hold my own. I'm comfortable in the water. So catching on the swim has not been a horrible thing for me, but coming up to speed, we're working on that.
Well, that's great because I know a lot of people who get involved with triathlon, the swim is the intimidating part. So that's not, and you told me you were on the high school swim team.
Not high school. I did swim team up through middle school age.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah. Yeah,
So,
so when elementary school, middle school, when I lived back east, I did some school swim team things, and before we started getting self-conscious about our bodies and things like that, then I was kind of done with
yeah,
that.
yeah, that is, swimming is a hard sport for that. But that's great to have been exposed to swimming, because now as you're in your adult years, at least that part you weren't too worried about, or at least you were comfortable with it.
Yeah, I think the only thing that other than really working on my skills in the water and speed has been the ocean swimming. I had never done that. Okay. So in preparing for oceanside, things like that, I've had to learn those ocean swimming skills. But I've been to some clinics and things like that, and that's been a lot of fun.
Oh, that's neat. Okay, so now how about the bike? How did you get going on the bike for Rage, your first race?
So the bike, once I got the bike, it was just first actually getting out there and just getting over my fear of being on the road. Yeah. Because the last time I had been on a bike was in college, just going from like here to there, you know, just going to class and things like that on, you know, a 10 speed that I never actually knew what the speeds did and how to actually gear on it. So actually getting out on the road, learning how the gears worked, and feeling comfortable on being on the road. I'm super grateful that I had wonderful friends that helped me to feel comfortable on the road, riding around other riders, and being in situations where I would be around other vehicles, especially here in Lake Havasu, being around the boats and people hauling the toys and the RVs and, you know, just the not so great drivers that we experience. You know, being so close to Las Vegas, being able to come up to Vegas and do some of the things, you know, out at Lake Mead and some of the different events. I've done some of the Goldilocks events that have been up there, some of the different distances out there, and just been in really supportive groups that, you know, go out and ride. I've been out to Red Rock Canyon and I love riding out there. That
is great. Well, and I have heard that you enjoy driving up from, at that point, from, maybe it was Laughlin that you're in, that I heard this story that people would say that you enjoy driving up and doing things up in Vegas with people, so.
Yes, when I was living in Laughlin, I was coming up to Vegas quite a bit to just be a part of the group and just to be around other people that enjoy the things that I do in sport, because I couldn't find people in that area to go do those things with. So I was either coming up to Vegas or coming down to Lake Havasu to be able to be with people and be in groups and be in a safe space to do those things.
Oh, that's great. And that's what I was interested in as you started out prepping for your first race, if you did that alone or if you did it with different people. And it sounds like you were picking up a lot of advice from friends and other triathletes at that point.
I was, and I also, I have always had a coach because as I was going through running, I do have a coach. He's down in the Phoenix area, so you know he works with me virtually, as well as my sports dietitian and all of those folks, because the part that not everybody knows is through my athletic journey, I've lost over 200 pounds.
Oh my goodness.
I got into endurance sports because through exercise and balanced nutrition and weight loss, that's how I found that I love running. And we find that form of exercise that kind of lights our passion. Well, for me, it was running and endurance sports. The kid that fakes sick in gym class, this is what I love now.
That is so great. And 200 pounds, my goodness, that's a huge accomplishment. And you've done it, because I've followed your journey for some time, and you've done it in a very sustainable way. And you've done it where you've enjoyed the exercise. That I think is really admirable.
Yeah, because I'm not going to do something I don't like. I'm
Oh,
stubborn.
No, and far too often I see people sometimes just trying to, really work to where it's painful, they dread it. And that's just not the way to do it. You gotta enjoy the sport. So, and you clearly do.
Yeah, and even now, like bumping up into the higher distances in triathlon and the importance of strength training and really looking at building the full machine.
Yeah.
I'm not somebody that's going to go and lift weights. That's not something I enjoy. I'm going to drag myself to the workout, but building muscle in other ways, looking at the body weight resistance, really doing strength training in other ways, that body weight resistance, the different ways we can approach strength training without being in there in bodybuilding and using the traditional dumbbells and barbells and things like that. Those are the things I enjoy. And so finding what is enjoyable and what works, that's something I can handle. So I'm not skipping workouts and setting myself up for injury and failure later.
No, that's great. I mean, that is the love of the sport and love of the exercise, and do things you enjoy doing. I often, working at UNLV, I often get the question from, editors. They say, what's the best exercise? And I always say, it's the one that you want to do. I mean, it sounds so simple.
Exact comment earlier this week on somebody had asked a question very similar to that. What's the exercise that you'll do? The one you're going to do.
Yep. And so now you found triathlon. You had your spooning background, but now you're able to do all three plus others. All right. So tell me about Rage. What was that like? That first race? Now that you'd already done a relay, what was the first race? What was that experience like?
That was incredible.
Yeah.
Because there's something invigorating about finishing each discipline, because you get to the end of each discipline and you're like, I'm done. I can't do anything more. But then you switch to the bike and you're like, okay, this is something completely new. I don't have to do the swimming anymore. This is something completely new. It's a whole new mindset. Then you get off their bike and you're like, I don't have anything left. But then you're like, the run, something completely new. I can do this. And just it's that regeneration every time. And I think that's what I love about it, is that it's changing gears, and just really pushing yourself in so many different ways and in putting all the pieces together, because like I like a really great mystery in putting all the pieces together. In just making the machine work, and the fueling and the energy expenditure, and how are you going to get this done within this time, and making sure you're going to get this done when, and it's a big equation. And it's from beginning to end. It's not just go out and get it done, but it's so much planning that goes into it too.
And you like that part.
I do. I nerd out on that part.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so you crossed the finish line.
And cry like a baby.
Oh, that's great.
Every single finish line. I don't think I have a single finish picture where I'm not crying somewhere. Any race, anywhere.
Oh,
my Chicago Marathon picture just came up in memories the other day. They're all crying. I just, every single finish line, because there's such an accomplishment to me, because it's the result of the work that's been put in. It's not just I showed up that morning and you did the thing. it's everything that went into it. And it's just, it's amazing to me what my body can do every time.
That is fantastic. And I love it. I always say celebrate that finish line, and you certainly embody that. I mean, that is so neat, because it is a big accomplishment to be able to do these events. And, sometimes people say, well, I just did the sprint race. I'm like, it doesn't matter. You did a triathlon, and that is really a great accomplishment.
Yeah.
All right. So how soon after you finished Rage did you sign up for your next race?
I don't think I've had a single race on the calendar where I didn't already have the next one registered.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
So you were ready for success, right? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now,
I'm a big goal planner.
Yep.
I'm very future oriented, which is a blessing and a curse. I'm really starting to pull back and live in the present moment, but it's really, I like knowing what that progression forward is, because I knew Rage was coming, that this was the sprint distance, this was what it was going to be. So what was going to be next? What was going to be the next goal after Rage? So I already knew after Rage it was going to be the Olympic distance. What was going to be the next challenge, and where was it going to be?
I love it. Okay, now I can see, and I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. Now I can see why you have moved into coaching. And so you just told me that you started your own business, your own coaching and nutrition counseling business. I can see where this is coming from. This is so neat.
Yes.
So you really, so now you've gone from starting triathlon, and now, and I can see the planning and the enjoyment of getting information and laying out, a whole schedule for a race. I can see how that translates to you wanting to help somebody. Yes,
absolutely. And it was something, I opened my, I have a personal training and nutrition counseling practice that I opened in February. And this was something that I had really not planned to do for a number of years. I thought this was something my husband and I would do in retirement, that I would just kind of pick up and do on the side. I actually have been a certified personal trainer since 2018.
Okay.
I got certified out of my own desire to understand what my coach was teaching me about my own body.
Oh, I love it. That's great.
Because that's that nerd in me. I want to understand these things. And so actually I've already gone through one recertification cycle to maintain my certification. But in that process, my business model itself, I had come up with this to really come alongside at the time the colleagues that we were working with and mentor them in the same way that I had lost weight and found balance in my life in a very, lose weight in this non-drastic way. And really had come up against a lot of brick walls and was not being listened to, and because I had found really cost-effective ways to do this. And so when my husband and I decided that it was time to, for a life change, and that, we were gonna, change career paths and move back to Lake Havasu, I said, okay, I'm gonna open my own business, and this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna hang my shingle, and here we go.
I love it. And
this was the limiting belief that I had, that I was only going to help this small group of people, because as I had been going through my journey, I had people saying, show me what you're doing. Show me what you're doing. So instead of this small group of people, now we're open to the world, because not only do I have my studio here? I work with people virtually. So now it's open to virtually anyone. And, here it is. And
Well,
I'm excited.
and that's great that they encourage you, because what you've accomplished is fantastic. And you only do that by getting knowledge. And now you're able to take that knowledge and turn it around and help others. I mean, that's really fantastic.
Mhm. Yeah,
So,
and
but
I'm excited because that nerd knowledge, I keep bringing in more. I've gotten a few more certifications and just roll with it. I love it.
well, and okay, so now I want to hear a little bit more about your planning, your love for planning, because uh, we talked before, and you've got big plans in 2021. Obviously, 2020 was sort of a big eraser for all of us, but 2021, you've got your sights set on some big goals. What are those?
I do. So 2021 is I am up for Oceanside 70.3 in late March. Then in July, I will be at Boulder 70.3. That is it would have been Coeur d'Alene 70.3 this year, but they're not doing the 70.3 anymore. And then in November, I'll be doing Ironman Arizona.
Wow, that's so cool.
This is my dream Ironman.
Yeah.
I looked at several others and I couldn't pull the trigger on any of them. I mean, I've volunteered at Ironman Arizona. I've ridden parts of the course. I've run parts of the course.
Yeah.
And this had to be it.
That's great. Arizona's a great course, I think, and that's so neat. So I love this progression from, rage sprint to then doing the Olympics, then 70.3 in your sights, and now Ironman.
Yeah.
That takes some planning.
It
So
does.
now let's transition back to your coaching.
Mhm.
Tell me a little bit about how you work with your athletes and how you do help them plan themselves. What do you use? How do you stay in contact with them now? I mean, everything is Zoom, but
Yeah. Well, so I work with my clients in a lot of different ways because of the scope of services that I provide my clients. And that I work with a residential private studio, I actually didn't close my doors during COVID. So I saw clients continually in person as they were comfortable during COVID. People that wanted to put things on hold or go virtually, they could. But in a Zoom world, that's great. I have the capability and the cameras and everything. We can do things in studio. But I do things as far as personal training, nutrition counseling, within a particular scope of services in nutrition counseling. I am not a nutritionist or a registered dietitian, so I don't diagnose or treat particular disorders or things like that. But we do a lot of different things with weight management and healthy eating within a lot that I do as well. But and then also accountability coaching. I do a little bit of race planning and things for that with people that are starting to dip their toe and doing a little bit of beginner racing, and do a lot of referral and things like that. I am a health at every size registered professional. I work from a very weight neutral perspective because I'm a person that I'm an Athena athlete. I will always be an Athena athlete. That's the reality of my body shape and size. And I am all about representation in sport and in life. And We need to take the weight stigma out of all of it, that we're in it for the joy of movement and feeling great in our body. At the end of the day, I want somebody's goal to be, I want to feel good and not focusing on the number on the scale, a body fat percentage, anything like that. I really want that focus to be that I feel great, that I'm accomplishing my goal. And so let's hone in on what that goal is and pull out the barriers to get there.
Oh, I love it. All right, that is so great, and what a great perspective. And it's neat that you're able to share that with your athletes. All right, so now I always like, when I talk with coaches, I always like for them to compare and contrast what it's like for when they finish a race versus watching one of their athletes finish a race or accomplish their goal. What for you, how can you compare and contrast those two?
Well, I don't so much have a lot of athletes that race. But in terms of seeing my clients reach their goal, it's just, I imagine that's like what a proud parent feels like. I'm not a parent, but I get excited. I want to sit here and be somebody's cheerleader.
Oh.
And if there's something that I can get excited about for somebody, then I'm going to. And because I feel things so deeply for people. And if you're sitting here crying, I'm probably sitting here crying with you. Because if you're frustrated, we're going to get frustrated together, but we're not going to sit in the pity party. We're going to figure out what's going on, work around it, and come out of it. So I want to sit here and cheer for you and come out at the end. So let's figure it out so we get to the end point.
That's great. And then you do get to share that enjoyment with them. And what a great accomplishment that they're able to get there. And then, you know, it's neat to be able to be part of that journey for them. So that's fantastic. So what do you have anything left on is there anything left in play in 2020 at this point?
You know, I've got a virtual race, a virtual try sitting here that I need to complete. But other than that, I don't have anything on the schedule for 2020 left. All of my races for next year were scheduled for 2020 because Ironman Arizona was supposed to be 2020. And, you know, rumor has it it's still going to go on. But because I didn't have those other races earlier this year, it just wasn't smart.
No, that's good.
To pony up to the start line of the biggest race of my life, not having any other race this year. I really toyed with that for several months because I've been training half-heartedly. I mean, I could have done it, but I wouldn't have had the enjoyment. Yeah. I wouldn't have had the Ironman experience that I wanted. And quite honestly, I'm not super excited about racing this year. I want the volunteers. I want the spectators. I want the Ironman finish.
That's right. That's right.
And so, you know, it was a really heartbreaking decision for me to voluntarily defer.
Yeah.
But in the end, I think it was the best choice.
No, that sounds like it. And again, I can see the planner in you coming out. And you know, you see these milestones that you want to hit as you work towards this. That's incredibly smart, and it's great because that allows you to get that success at each stage, and then, you know, give you that best chance to be successful at the iron distance. So that's admirable that you're able to do it. So I was going to ask you that sort of question: is how, now that everything has been sort of, you know, canceled for 2020, how are you planning out for 2021? Like how you're a lot like me. I need something on the calendar, and if I don't have something on the calendar, I really struggle.
Yeah.
And I've known that all the time. It really has stood out this year.
Yeah.
But
Well,
how are you doing it?
training starting to ramp up because registration's in for Oceanside. It's in for Boulder. We're in October now. I mean, Training Peaks is starting to look a lot more full now as my weekly calendars come in from my coach. I mean, it's not a like optional here, optional there anymore. It's let's get a little more serious now. So it's we're getting back to being serious again. It's not okay, as you feel like it.
I love it. Now you're getting me motivated. That's awesome. This is so great. Stephanie, this has been fantastic to talk with you. I told you I'd keep you for about 30 minutes and we've reached that. And boy, it just flies by. It's really, this is so much fun to hear your story of where you started, the goals that you've reached along the way, and now to see you transition into the coaching arena and training arena. That is really fantastic. And it's a testament to the knowledge that you picked up along the way from your coaches and seeking out information on your own from certification. So, so cool. So thanks for doing this.
My pleasure. It's been great to be here. I always have fun chatting with like-minded folks.
Yep. And we will cross paths in Oceanside. So that'll be fun.
Absolutely. It's one of my favorite places in the world. I'm so sad I didn't get to San Diego this year. So Oceanside, here I come. I miss California.
Yes. Awesome. Stephanie, it's been great talking with you. Thanks everyone who logged on and watched.